And so I started volunteering my time even more and helping these women. And when I got the Jeep, I said, what can I do with my Jeep? How can I give back to the community? What can we do? And I started going on social media, becoming a part of all of these Jeep communities, watching what they did. And I was like, wow, I can really make a difference here. And
you think all that connection happened from what you also saw from your father dealing with the different muscle car communities?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting on the drive here, I was thinking about it and I said, how ironic is it that I grew up in the car community? And it's funny because when I told my dad about the Jeep, he's like, don't belong to any of the Jeep communities. It's just nothing but drama. And here I am today affiliated with 392 Jeep communities in the world.
Give them some value, give them some tips and tricks on what they could do to actually keep going. So I want to get right into it, Rachel. Where does it start for you? You're born in Boynton.
I was born and raised in Boynton Beach. And I've always serviced the community, volunteered the community in some way. Even when I was younger, I was a Boynton Beach police explorer. So we actually did a lot of things with the community as well. I volunteered at all of the animal rescues. I did what I could. And then I was also raised in the car community. My dad's a very well-known car restoration guy, so I got to grow up with some very famous cars. Muscle Magazine at my house every weekend. We would go to car shows where they were doing not-for-profits and raffles to give back to the community. So that always stuck with me. I did go to college later in life, but I didn't really feel like that's what I wanted to do, which was child psychology. So
you're a child psychologist also?
That's my degree, yes.
So let's start. Let's go back a little because you just gave me a lot right away. So growing up in Boynton, raised by mom and dad in the same home?
Yes.
They through the whole time?
Yes. My mom and dad had a very, it's not very unique nowadays, but my mom and dad pretty much were just roommates when we were growing up.
Of course, yeah.
So they had separate lives and everything, and it was pretty challenging and difficult for my brother and I when we were growing up.
So it was your brother and okay.
Yes. And then I was married when I was 27 years old.
But don't skip it. Don't go all the way there yet. I want to deal with this childhood because that's not, like you said, it's normal, but it's not normal.
Yes.
So growing up, same homes?
It was the same home.
But not married.
They were married, but they lived in separate rooms.
Oh, one of those. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a buddy of mine that experienced the same thing.
They realized that my parents are originally from New York, and they were forced to get married because they had a little bit too much fun while they were there, and which was me. And so my dad came to Florida.
They had a little too much fun when they were there. So you're the fun child.
I was the fun child, yes.
Okay.
And so my dad decided to take my mom from New York and move her to Florida. And they tried to make the marriage work, and they had my brother 3 years later. And after that, nothing.
They thought the child was going to be the next, was going to fix everything.
Yes.
As their problem.
Yes. And go ahead.
No, please.
So my mom went through some pretty bad issues with addiction and alcoholism and whatnot. And so I became the caregiver in the house with my brother. My dad worked very long hours. And so I moved out at a very young age. I moved out when I was 16 on my own. And I still managed to go to high school, graduate from high school.
Wait. So, whoa. So you're telling me your mom suffered with addiction?
Yes, she did.
Early age. How old were you around that time?
I was probably about 8 when that happened.
So 8, and then you started being a caregiver of the home in that
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
To my 5-year-old brother.
To your 5-year-old brother. And whoa, okay. Like what was that trigger? Like, what was it for you that you just knew you had to do this? Like, or how first of all, how dramatic was that? How?
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate because when you're put in that position, you kind of just push the stress away because you have
have
a
no choice at
job,
that point.
right? You have a job to do. It's either you survive and you figure it out, and you have your kid brother with you, and you just deal with it. I think it definitely raised some issues for me when I was older, as far as choosing who I wanted my husband to be, who I was supposed to marry, what that person was supposed to be like. And so, but yeah, I didn't really reflect back on it. Actually, to be honest with you, I didn't reflect back on the actual majority of the childhood until my mom passed away. And so when I had to fly up to New York.
How old were you when your mom passed away?
I was 38 years old.
So you didn't deal with it. You just were like, that's life. This is my life. I'm just going to.
You become a robot pretty much, if she needed money, even after I moved out, if my mom needed help, if she needed to go to doctor's appointments, because she had health issues as well. I was there. My dad really didn't want anything to do with it. So I stepped in and took care of it.
So you took the responsibility of being the parent. In that,
correct.
In so many words.
Yeah. And then my brother, my parents didn't split up till my brother was 24 and moved out. So my parents
really toughed it out.
Yeah, they really did. And so that was when my mom decided to go back home to New York, and my dad stayed down here.
So did your mom ever, did she deal with the addiction at a time, or?
Well, no, she never dealt with it. Part of it was, she had some severe health issues that put her in a lot of pain. So originally it was only the alcohol. She was very depressed when she was taken away from her home in New York. Her whole family was there.
Wow.
So my dad was not the most sympathetic person, but he was working all the time.
You all right to the mic.
I'm sorry.
Your favorite thing.
He was working all the time. So, she never really addressed it. She still had issues when she was up in New York. But I didn't really address anything until she passed away. And then I started talking to her family, my family, and I started hearing the real story and things that had happened.
The dark side.
Yeah. And that's when I was like, wow, there really was some issues there.
I think addiction, to the people that I know that have dealt with addiction it's a real disease.
It is. And my brother unfortunately fell into it as well. So when I moved out, because I moved out when I was 16 years old. So the minute I moved out, he started into that addiction with pills. So
when did you made the decision to move out at 16? Why?
I think I was just tired at that point of not being appreciated, being abused, verbally all the time. And I just felt like I would be better struggling and making money and going to school than being at home and dealing.
So you wanted to free yourself from the atmosphere
yes.
that you were dealing with there.
Yeah, I was terrified that I was going to turn into the same thing. So that was my biggest fear, is that I was going to do that, and my brother did, my brother is still dealing with it, and he's up in Connecticut. But
I'm from Connecticut.
Oh, there you go. So he's from Stanford. That's where he's at right now.
I'm in Bridgeport, 20 minutes away.
Okay. So, we don't talk much. But, I was very terrified that I was going to fall into the same habits and behavior that my mom was into. And my dad too, to be honest with you, because my dad most people thought he was very cold. I think it more had to do with the fact that he was working a lot to provide for us. But I didn't want to fall into either of those categories. Because
you saw one disconnecting, just working.
Correct.
Two, you saw addiction.
Yes.
So you're like, there wasn't no family time, basically.
No,
it was just grind it out.
Yes. I spent a lot of time with my friends. I spent a lot of time surfing.
Disconnecting was your thing. Yeah,
just getting out of that situation. If I could drag my brother with me, I would, to get him out of the house as well. But we did a lot of outdoors things. And then, of course, my family that I do have here in Florida on my dad's side, we would spend time with them. So
your father's family from?
No, they moved down here as well.
Before he came down. Okay.
Yeah. And actually, my entire family is Broward County Sheriff's Office. They're retired now, but most of my family, I was the only girl. So.
Ooh, that had to be intense. So now, in that same life scenario that you're going through, you guys also, your father was dealing with cars, or?
He was. That was his outlet when he did have time. So he actually restored. That was his, my dad was very involved with cars. So he would get cars. Famous people would ask him to restore their cars to original. He was in several magazines. Muscle Magazine was at my house every weekend. We would go to car shows all the time. And my brother wasn't really interested in it, but
That's how you guys bond.
Yes. Yes.
So you think that bonding was the outlet for you guys also?
It was, yes. And to this day, it still is. My dad is actually in North Florida right now, helping my uncle. And, he sees how passionate I am about my Jeep and the Jeeping world. And at first he was a little shocked because I did not let him in on the fact that I was buying a Jeep. When I called him and finally the deal was done, I said, so I bought a Jeep. And he's like, oh, what?
This was like the breaking. Yeah.
He wanted me to have a Mustang or a Camaro. Of
course, everything he loves.
Exactly.
You his protege. He's raised you to love muscle cars.
Exactly.
But it just didn't work out like that.
No. And he said to me, he's like, well, when you're ready to start, redoing it and building it, you let me know and I'll take care of it. I said, let me make my first car payment first. I said, I'm just out of a divorce. So I called him 30 days later and I said, I appreciate and love you. However, I'm going to build the Jeep myself.
So that before we get to the divorce, I got that part. Yes. I just heard that. So you said at 16 you moved out.
Yes.
Moved out by yourself, moved out with friends, moved out with my, at that time, high school sweetheart. Your sweet, of course.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. Mm-hmm. So you moved out with your high school sweetheart. Did you live with his parents or something, or you guys moved out, you two just?
We originally lived with his parents, and then at 17, we had our first apartment in Boca.
So you guys were adults.
Yes.
Well, you basically been taking care of a home for 8-9 years before that.
Yes.
So how was that experience for you?
It was definitely a lot of fun. Times were easier back then with money and whatnot too. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of stress. We lived in a very small apartment on Jeffrey Street in Boca, and we both worked at night doing what we had to do. Focused on our studies during the day.
Oh, you guys were in school also? High school then or college?
High school.
So you're in high school. You were an adult at high school. Okay,
yes.
This is interesting.
Yes. Well, and it's
Times
funny.
It was different also back then.
It was, but it is funny that a lot of my family that saw my brother and I outside of the house, they always said that I had an old soul. So, I think that I was lucky to have that, personality. Mm-hmm. Because it did get me through all of the things that I had to go through. I think you were raised
that way. I think you were basically taking care of the home at 8.
Yes.
So I think your old soul, because you were actually 10 years older than you were starting from 8 years old.
Yes.
So, and then you guys were still together when you decided to go to school? Like, how did that?
Well, no, we separated. And then I was on my own from that point forward. And I didn't go back to school until I was 27 when I met my first husband.
Wow.
Yes.
So what was the influence, in that time period also, how difficult was it to be on your own? Were you going back and forth to home, or you were living by yourself?
I was living by myself. Yes. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it was easy. I hustled. I worked 3 jobs. I worked for 5 nightclubs, doing their books for them.
Wow.
And then in Palm Beach County. And then I was also a bartender for concession at Sunfest. So I was on the barge at Sunfest for 5 years as lead bartender. And then I also did like WWF and all the concerts and stuff. I was bartender for them as well. So I get to meet some
really
the
hustle
people.
Came from like your father? Or just growing up the way you grew up?
Yeah. I wasn't, handed everything on a silver platter. So my dad, when I turned 14 and I had the opportunity to be a bad girl at Publix, I took it because I knew I wasn't going to have, if I wanted a car at 16, I need to start saving money now. I needed to do those things in order to have the things I wanted. And I think I'm not sure who I got it from, but my dad is, retired now, but he, I don't know. He never had, I don't think, 3 jobs and was going to school and, that craziness. And, and I have that personality where I have to always be busy doing something. By the time I was 27 years old, I was in college part-time. I had just bought my first townhome. I was planning a wedding. So I had a lot, and I had a lot on my plate even at that point, trying to juggle everything.
Do you believe the hustle came from no option?
Correct. Yes.
So the moment you realized you had no option, you just locked in and knew you had to do everything you needed to do.
Yes. And it was also that mentality of nobody's going to take care of me but myself. I need to rely on myself. So I can't rely on somebody else handing me a paycheck or
Do you think
money.
that came from your upbringing?
No, not at all. No, I think it was just survival,
Wow.
is really what it came down to. And by the time I did meet my ex-husband, I thought I was doing the right thing with him. I had always dated the bad boy.
Those bad boys are terrible.
Growing up, and here comes this guy who graduated top of his class at Virginia Tech, and
this was the one.
Yeah, I went to prep school, and his very traditional family, and
you wanted that because you're not from a traditional family.
I thought that was the right thing to do.
Wow.
And so, on a good day, he was 128 pounds. To this day, I still call him a kid. He looks, he's 12 years old.
Right.
And, he had quite a bit of hidden secrets.
Of course.
And
most structure,
yes,
everything looks pretty in the Surface family does.
They're very good at hiding the bad stuff.
That's why they look so good, because they're very good at hiding it.
Yes. And it got really, really bad, and I'm 44 years old. So one of the biggest things that my generation, if you have survived, I'm so super proud, because we've been through things that even our grandparents hadn't had to deal with. Recession,
Thanks.
All of these things happening and losing our homes because of it, and all of this. And it was a huge stress on a lot of people. He was a branch manager for a heavy equipment rental company.
Okay.
So he did very well until he lost his job based on his addiction. And he was an alcoholic, and I had no clue. He hid it very well. And you would thought somebody like me who grew up with it, I could have.
You should know it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't find out and start seeing the signs until it was very late. We were together for 10 years.
So, but wow. So he was in school, did very well in school.
Very well.
Got out. You guys got married. You guys got a home, and through the whole time, he was dealing with alcoholism.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's the right term to use.
Yes.
And you never knew through that whole time.
No. And that one of the things that you had mentioned earlier on was tips and tricks about things in your life that happen and what you should go through. And there's one thing that I was taught. And it was by my ex-husband, of all people, was to always trust your gut. If your gut is off and you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. Pass. And even the day of our wedding, my gut was freaking out.
So you should have passed.
And I ignored it.
He told you.
I know.
He basically told you, if your gut tells you to go, run for your life.
Yeah. And I didn't.
You can't blame the guy. He told you.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, he went through, and then on top of that, he lost his best friend to cancer, who was basically his brother. And he just was not capable of dealing with stress at all.
Almost.
So when it started to show is when it got worse. The drinking got even worse every day. And that's when I noticed it. I tried to get him help. And growing up in that situation, one of the things that you're taught is that nobody can help them but themselves. And so, and I had fought to help my mother for so long, I was exhausted, and it got me really nowhere. And so when this happened, I helped him for a certain amount of time, and then I gave him an ultimatum.
So you basically created boundaries because you saw this already before.
Correct.
But you also saw it and never was successful from the things you saw.
Correct.
So that automatically triggered so many different things I could only imagine.
It did. It really did. And, I was put in a tough situation as to what I was going to do with the rest of my life. Did I want to stay with him? Did I want to work through it? We'd already tried. And I decided to go up to the Swanee River to see my uncle at that time, and took 3 days sitting at the river thinking about what I wanted to do. And I got back in my truck at the time, went home, and gave him a contract. And
gave him what was on a contract?
Basically, he had 30 days to get himself help, get into a rehab facility, get therapy, counseling, whatever that he needed to do. And he didn't want to. So that's when I told him that he needed to leave. And I was in a situation where my salary was his salary had found another job after he lost his job, but it was barely helping to pay the bills. So I was basically by myself in a huge house in Fort Myers, all by myself with no friends or family over there. And I decided to have an estate sale.
I think for me, I hear so many different triggers when you're talking about this.
Yeah.
Like you leaving home again, all by yourself.
All by myself.
Again. It's like your mom went through the connection is
crazy.
So crazy.
Yeah. And so I sold everything. And all I had at the time was my truck and my dog and my suitcases in the back of my truck. And
so I guess the contract
did not work. No. And I could have gone anywhere with my background and my experience with what I was doing. And everybody wanted me to come home. My dad wanted me to come home. Everybody wanted me here. And so I said, okay, I'm going to come home. And I downsized my entire life. I lived in a 600 square foot beach cottage.
From what to what? What were
4,000 square foot home.
4,000 square foot and now 600,000 square foot.
600.
600.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. 600 square feet. That's a little extreme.
Thank God I'm very OCD and organized because and creative. But I loved it. It was my sanctuary. It was behind a big house in Delray. I had a massive backyard. And I decided that I needed to
dump. And the water.
Yes, and the water. I was right on the intercoastal. And so I decided to sell my truck. And I bought this Jeep that was...
This is where it all got started.
Yes. It was completely stripped. It was a very standard 2010 Jeep. And... I brought it home and it was in the driveway and I was just staring at it like, well, what am I going to do now?
So what made you buy the Jeep? Was that for you, basically?
Well, going through such a traumatic experience growing up, as you get older, you like we were talking about before, all those memories you just push back into your head. You're just focused on what's at hand, basically. But when I started to relax at the cottage, I was looking back at my childhood and some of the fun things that we would do. One of the things that we always did was my dad would take the cars on A1A, the convertibles especially, and I would see Jeeps pass by. And I'm like, oh, Dad, I want a Jeep someday. And I was a little kid. And he's like, those things are dangerous. They flip over. No. And so when I saw that Jeep there, and it was my favorite color, blue, I was just like, I want that Jeep.
Went back to the connection.
Yeah. I felt like that was fun and it was my release and I could enjoy myself. And I did, before I even did anything to the Jeep, I would take it on A1A every Saturday morning and drive all the way from Palm Beach down to Fort Lauderdale, back and forth, and just top off the Jeep and just listen to my music. And that was my therapy.
So what I want you to do now, because I realize we're talking, I know what you do. For the viewers that don't know what you do, because this is the start of what you do.
Yes.
Explain to people who you are and what you do.
Well, the name of my company is called Island Off-Road. We do a very large Jeep event every March in Singer Island. We had almost 1,000 Jeeps there in March. We basically just reach out to the community. I use my Jeep as a tool. One of the things, when I came home from Fort Myers, I went through a very deep depression. And it actually put me in a hospital for 13 days. I almost died. And, there was a big reflection time when I was there. And one of my doctors had come in and I had 9 doctors and he was my head doctor. And he sat down next to me and he says, I know what you did. He's like, I know you inside and out. I've done every test on you. But there's one thing that I can't fix until you tell me out loud what you tried to do. And I did. I had to tell him that I tried to commit suicide.
That's what you're holding back. I didn't tell you that, Doc.
Yes. And he says, I know. He goes, I know. He goes, now we can fix it. And so really what happened was I started going to counseling, a therapist, and then group counseling. And I didn't have the same issues as these women had, but I did have the depression part of it. And when I started hearing their stories and what they had gone through, I was like, wow, what can I do to help these women? They have nobody to listen to them. And they've been through such traumatic things, but they're labeled as, oh, they're a drug addict or they're an alcoholic. But it goes deeper than that. And so I started volunteering my time even more and helping these women. And when I got the Jeep, I said, what can I do with my Jeep? How can I give back to the community? What can we do? And I started going on social media, becoming a part of all of these Jeep communities, watching what they did. And I was like, wow, I can really make a difference here. And
you think all that connection happened from what you also saw from your father dealing with the different muscle car communities?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting on the drive here. I was thinking about it and I said, how ironic is it that I grew up in the car community? And it's funny because when I told my dad I bought the Jeep, he's like, don't belong to any of the Jeep communities. It's just nothing but drama. And here I am today affiliated with 392 Jeep communities in the world.
Yeah, you didn't listen.
No, I did not listen. I felt so good when I started helping others and did my first meet and greet at Tilted Kilt in Boca. And I worked with the police benevolent and we were able to give money back to them. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then when I started to become aware of Down Syndrome Society, Gold Coast Down Syndrome Society in Boynton, I really wanted to give back to them too, because they're helping these families who bring a child into the world that has Downs and they have no idea what they're doing. And this school really picked up their, they took a stance and helped these parents without asking really for any money at all. And were able to get these parents to understand their child more. And I thought that was important for our community too. And then it just evolved into other things. I'm an ambassador to Mission 22, which is our veterans that suffer from PTSD. And that is what I was diagnosed with, was PTSD. And I manage my PTSD with therapy and helping others. And so when I became an ambassador, I really wanted to hear their stories and what they truly went through and how could I help them more. And I said, let's do fun things. We do off-road therapy with them. We get them to smile. We get them to, be a part of something. And then it just went on through that, I wanted to focus more on our community. One of the biggest things for me, here I am doing this massive event in Singer Island. And don't think for a second that when I get off of Blue Heron that I don't see what's going on in Rivera Beach. And so for me, it was an immediate pull that said, I can't have this huge successful event and all these people driving through here and not giving back. So we have to do something so that they know that we appreciate them as well, that we're not separated east and west. Involvement. Exactly. And so that's why we help them with our event as well. And it just kept going. I had not-for-profits asking me, how can you help me? What can you do? And here we are today. We have this big, gigantic event, and then we have all of these other events. I usually do between 4 and 5 events per month. So I have. And
what do you guys do in these events? You guys raise money.
We do. We raise money. We'll do raffles. We'll do car shows. We'll do whatever we can. We do scavenger hunts, anything that we possibly can.
So one of the things that I realized also that is big for me to hear, it sounds like you are going through all these different things, but you decide to make everybody else, I don't know if it's more important than you, or you found a space in your mind that you feel like, you want to serve and bring value while you're going through the things you're going through.
Honestly, when I see that I've helped somebody and I've put a smile on their face, it's healed me more. So that's what it comes down to. That literally is my therapy. I do have a therapist. I decided to take a holistic approach to my PTSD, so I'm not on medications. But every time I help somebody or I've put a smile on somebody's face, it literally to the core fixes me a little bit more. And that's why I do what I do. I want to see people smile. I don't want to see people struggle. I want everybody to get along with each other. I know it's kind of a butterflies and rainbows a thing.
It's important.
But it is very important, especially today when we've had all of these crazy things in the past couple of years happen. COVID, the elections, everything. And, you see people bullying each other or gossiping, confrontation. And it's like, wait a minute, guys, let's just stop that for a second and just appreciate what we have and what we do for each other and just stop the nonsense. And so when I start to see people getting along and laughing together and helping others in our community, that makes me feel way better.
So basically you believe serving and bringing value bring more peace to what you're dealing
Absolutely.
with.
100%. Yes, it does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from? Is it just going through the things you've been through in life?
Definitely going through the things that I've been through in life. I didn't want to be put in that position ever again where I was running away from something all by myself. literally, struggling to where I was going to get my next meal from, and I just didn't want to be in that position anymore. And I needed to, like I said, focus on me and taking care of me and the things that make me feel better. And if that means giving back to the community or volunteering my time to do something, then that's what I have to do, and that's why my Jeep trust me, I have a lot of fun with my Jeep, but my Jeep is a tool, I can't tell you, my Jeep is crazy. So I don't know if you've seen it, but my Jeep is an off-road vehicle, but its theme is this whole underwater mermaid theme. I have a wrap at the bottom. It's got mermaids and pirate ships. It's crazy insane. And even going down the road, if I'm at a red light and there's
what we got to do? I'm talking to production while I'm talking with you right now. For people that don't know, I think we're going to have to go down and shoot your Jeep.
My Jeep.
And try to insert it in.
Absolutely. Sorry, he saw it. And so I'll be at a red light. And for me, just to get somebody to smile makes me so happy. So I'll be at a red light and there'll be kids in a back seat of a car and they're like, Mom, look at her Jeep. And I wave. And of course I have my ducks. And so if we're at the light long enough.
What ducks are you talking about?
So in the Jeeping world, and somebody will have to correct me here, the history I've been taught with the ducks is that the housekeeping would leave ducks in the cruise lines and the rooms to make everybody smile to welcome them. And somehow, some way, Jeeps and ducks became a thing. And it's been going on for quite a few years. And basically, it's a rubber duck. And it has a tag on it that usually says something funny like, nice ducking Jeep, like ducking,
nice
ducking Jeep. And it gives them a smile. Follow us on our Instagram page, follow us on our Facebook page. And so we do that with our event in Island Off-Road. And I've probably in the past 2 years, I've passed out over 1,000 ducks. So, and it, like I said, it just makes everybody smile, and usually what that person will do is they'll take a picture of their duck with their Jeep and they'll post it on the page saying, thank you. I can't believe it. I got my first duck today. And it's brought a lot of happiness. This little cheesy rubber duck
branding. So I want to get into the business now a little deeper for those that help out nonprofit organizations, help raise money, support nonprofit organizations, but also there's a whole business of what you're doing. There's a process of hosting events, building sponsors, connecting with all these different people. Could you talk a little bit more about that for the ones that are watching and want to learn how to do this themselves? So how did you start this whole business first from the beginning?
Well,
I know it was a Jeep. I know you serving people, but I want to go a little deeper as far as relationships, connection, the events. Like, how did you get into all that?
Well, like I said, when I first got the Jeep, I went onto Facebook and to Instagram and I wanted to see who was out there in the Jeeping community. Is there a Jeeping community? And there definitely was. And, I just started following them, doing posts. I also empower other women who are in the Jeeping world that don't.
So you found a community and you started building a relationship with that community.
Over and over again with different communities until it spread all over the world, basically. And then I started creating my own pages and then I started talking to vendors, asking them questions.
Is that a Jeep airing?
Which one?
The second one?
No.
Oh, I was about to say, you really out of control. This
no,
Jeep
it's an arrow. It's the start of an arrow on the end of an arrow.
Like a Jeep airing. I was okay.
I do have Jeep earrings. No Jeep tattoos yet though. But yeah, so basically I just got myself into it. Then they started asking me to be admins of their groups. Women would ask me questions.
Managing their social media platforms.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so then I created my own pages and then I started doing events on my own and they were small in scale. And then what really pushed me to run my own business was the first year that we decided we were going to do, I had always thought in the back of my head that I wanted to do a massive Jeep event for Palm Beach County. I had gone to my first real Jeep event the first year that I had my Jeep called Jeep Beach in Daytona. And that was a couple of guys who started it. I think it's 19 years ago. And they were like, let's do a Jeep festival. And today it's a week long. It's just like Bike Week. They have 10,000 Jeeps there. They shut down the Daytona 500 for all the vendors. They shut down Main Street and they let Jeeps drive on the beach. And so I said, wouldn't it be cool someday to do that for Palm Beach County? And then I tucked it away because it is a huge thing to start trying to figure out. And Fortunately and unfortunately, we were doing our traditional Jeep event, which is every month at the Palm Beach Outlet Mall. It's called Cars and Coffee. And my new husband and I, we run Jeep Row. So every month we set up our Jeep Row.
So you guys do Jeep Row in conjunction with Cars and Coffee.
Right. At Cars and Coffee, if you've ever been out there, each row is pretty much specific to a type of car community or vehicle, whether it's Mustang Row or, F-150 Row. We run Jeep Row. And we had a gentleman come up to us and he had said, I've been following you and your husband. I've been kind of creeping the events that you do. I think
it's pretty creepy.
Yes. I think you guys are amazing. I'd like to get into a partnership with you. And here comes another tip. And let's do something. And so I said, okay, absolutely. And unfortunately, I had never run my own business and it kind of burned me. We lost a lot of money dealing with this particular person. He ended up being pretty shady. And I was very smart. My gut was telling me that I had to hold on to our raffle money, which was for our not-for-profits. And thank God I did because he was going to take it. And we kind of had to cut ties with him because I didn't feel comfortable. My gut was telling me to hold on to those money bags that day at the event because he had that night had taken the rest of the money out of the accounts. Yes. And so I basically said to my husband, I want to continue doing this. The city of Rivera Beach wanted nothing to do with this guy. He had done it previously and they were very hesitant about him doing it this time. And they didn't burn the city, but he burned me and my husband. So I said to my husband, yes.
So you started hosting this event in the city, Rivera Beach, on Singer Island. And this guy said, he brought you here or? He
did. He basically said that he would be an investor. I would be the face. I would do all the promoting and everything else. And we would have a partnership. And of course, we were like, sure, no problem. We can do it. We didn't sign anything. We didn't do anything.
You're trusting
him. And I brought in all of the money from the sponsors to actually hold the event because it is very expensive to have something of this magnitude. And he ended up stealing everything. Yes. And it took me a good 3 days. I was shocked, upset, angry because I am a caring person. And
you never believe what happened to you. It happened to me before, but
yeah. And so 3 days later, I said, we're going to do it on our own. And I created the LLC and we had already kind of had the LLC in place because when we do events and crazy stuff, when we do off-roading events, when we do trips to Windward Walls in Miami, whatever we're doing, God forbid somebody gets hurt. So we had to,
insurance.
Yes, we carry liability insurance for it. So we basically just started branding the LLC that I'd already had, which is Island Off-Road. And we changed the name from Jeeps on the Island Music Festival to Island Off-Road Jeep Music Festival. And basically we just started pushing it and we changed the name, we changed the graphics, we changed everything. And one of the things they tell you when you do an event that your first year, if you're successful, you'll double your numbers every single year after at an event. And on our first event, we had 800 Jeeps. And this was right after the pandemic. What had happened was we had it scheduled
Jeeps where?
In Singer Island.
Game changer.
Yes. And that was the first year and it was successful. My husband and I, he is my best friend. He's my business partner and he's my husband and we work very well together, which is unheard of because
that's amazing. That's definitely, it's a difficult thing.
It is. And he, this is a guy who's never been in the Jeep world, had a Dodge Ram when I met him and
you didn't change his whole life.
I did. His birthday was on Valentine's Day and I bought him a red Jeep. And so
one time for great guys, man. Just want to make sure I'm clear about that.
And he's fully involved. He's also an ambassador to our not-for-profits. He's amazing, but we work very well together and we're very organized. And that's part of the success we had for our first year. We had gone to other first year Jeep events and
you were able to learn from those.
Yes. And so our second year, we had 1,000 Jeeps. And so when we had the first event, it was supposed to be in March and it was postponed because COVID had happened. So we had to wait a whole nother year the city was begging us to get the event done because they needed to bring revenue in as well. But March was too soon. So the first year we pushed it a year and May to June or March, April, May. So we pushed it 2 months forward. So we actually had it in May the first year. And we still ended up having 800 Jeeps there. Then we did the second one this year and we had 1,000 Jeeps.
So for me, I'm so inspired by your story. So you went through all the drama, all the tragic thing happening, divorce, disconnecting, leaving everything or however it happened. Yeah. You found something that you just wanted for yourself. You did for yourself. You bought this Jeep. Then you turned that Jeep around and made it how you could bring value to more people.
Correct.
And really deal with your depression, things. I mean, you almost took your life. I mean, you've been through life.
Yes.
But you still decided to keep on hustling and still figure out a way to keep on doing it.
Absolutely.
And then it gets deeper. So you go through, I mean, I think let me kind of skip over you bringing so much value into the community, because if you're bringing 1,000 Jeeps into Singer Island, that means there's people in the cars.
Yes.
At least one.
Yes.
So you're at least bringing 1,000 people that's going to buy something to eat.
Yes.
Stay in a hotel. So you're bringing big value to this community. I think one of the things that I am going to be involved in next year is how do we bring more people from the West Side into the community?
Absolutely.
Just to see it.
Yes.
Because I know what it did for me when I saw things.
Yes.
And I think just the community overall, you might inspire a kid that want to get into the community, buy a Jeep themselves.
Yes.
Gives them something to fight for.
So, for example, going back to what makes me like super happy and heals me, the first year that we did the event, you know, City of Rivera Beach, they were hesitant. They're like, oh my God, Jeeps, and how are they going to act and behave and this and that? And we have the high-rise community. Are they going to complain? You have a live stage in the sand, all this music coming in. And let's keep our fingers crossed that there's no complaints so you can have a second year. So on that Monday after the event was over, now mind you, even on that Saturday and Sunday while the event was going on, we had residents coming down from the high-rises and from the neighborhoods, dancing in the sand with the Jeepers.
Powerful. Having
fun. And I'm like, is this really happening?
I think we don't see that enough in this community.
No.
In Rivera Beach. That how much the neighborhoods really connect.
They do. And
once we block and we disconnect from politics and the noise,
Yes. And it was amazing. So that on that Monday, the city council has a meeting to talk about the event, to make sure our event was good and are we allowed to do it the next year. So I called Richard with Parks and Recreation and I'm like, how did it go? He's like, this is the first time ever that we had 0 complaints.
Wow.
We had residents that aren't even Jeepers calling in saying, can she do this twice a year?
Wow, that's amazing.
And so that was so amazing. And then our second year, we had the Jewish Center even calling me, how can you help us? Can we get exposure from the event? And I'm like, absolutely. Whoever calls, everybody's a part of this event, regardless. There's no admissions free unless you're a Jeeper to come into the event. We have vendors that we help. We help our local businesses in the community as well.
Huge.
So, it's a big thing for us. And every year we want it to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But it is.
I believe it will. I think as the community partnership is important. It is. With different businesses and also the support from the leaders in the community of supporting something like this.
Yes.
I think you're bringing big value into the community. Yes. But I want to touch on this a little bit because you building this business out and hustling this business out. So you're working with city. How is that process? Because you're not just putting this event together. There's a whole behind the scene. There's the flyers, there's the marketing, there's connecting the communities, there's the relationship with the city. Like, speak a little bit, because I'm trying to give tips and tricks for people that want to do this.
So it may not appear this way, but I really am shy. Especially when I started off in the Jeeping community, when I was asked to speak with a microphone, I was like, oh no. And I would feel sick a little before I got up, and I was terrified all the time. And one of the things that I have learned, especially now being in charge and taking ownership of this event, is that I can't be afraid to talk to people. And I have to push that fear away and cold call people. Walk into their office unexpected with a smile on my face and bring them things and tell them about us. And it's work. It's getting your feet on the ground, picking up the phone, reaching out, sending emails.
How do you conquer that fear?
I have a good support group of friends who, like, just before coming in here, my dad is one of them. He was texting me, and I don't text and drive. So I live in Boca. So I got here and I was in the parking lot here, believe it or not, way earlier than I came here into the office.
You probably were here at 8.
And my dad says, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm here. I'm getting ready to walk into the office for my interview." And he's like, "Just breathe." So they all know, they like keep me in check, and I let them know right beforehand. And of course, my husband, he is my biggest supporter, and he's amazing. And he gets on the phone with me, and he always talks to me, but it's gotten easier as the time has gone on. I'm not so much afraid anymore. I still get a little nervous, but if somebody tells me, "Hey, I heard about this company that might be interested in being involved with your event," I'm like, "Give me their phone number." And there's no hesitation or, "Oh, I should wait a day or two." I just call them immediately. So I don't give myself time to even think about it, but every day gets better and better.
I think for me, what I'm noticing right away is the same mentality you had when you were younger with no option. It's the same thing you're doing now while building this business.
Correct. And the only difference now is that instead of it being focused on how can I have to help my family, now it's how do I help I have to help my community.
You have a bigger family.
I have a bigger family, and so that drives me big time, because the more successful I am, the better they're going to be, because we'll be able to give them the funds to do the things that they need to do for their community. And that's what is really, really.
How many people you think you're servicing? I mean, you're bringing value to servicing from online, the community. How many people you think you're reaching every month?
Lots, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. When I wake up in the morning, I usually have about 600 to 700 notifications on my phone of people either asking me questions or they're posting something and they want my feedback or whatever the case. That's how my morning starts. And then once that's done, I create and do my own personal posts and my on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. And then by lunchtime, I've got another 500 or 600 notifications again. So it's a crazy cycle. I start at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm lucky if I get to bed by midnight.
You're constantly having conversation with multiple communities.
Yes. And it's not just the Jeep world. Like here in South Florida, we have other car communities. We have South Florida Car Club. We have all these things. So when I'm doing a Jeep post or we're doing a car show, I'm allowed to post into those pages as well.
Wow.
I've also been given the advantage of, you got to get creative when you do things. So for instance, during COVID, when you're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and whatnot, you'll have these rules that you have to abide by when you're on their page. No advertising, this, that, or the other. Well, there's ways around that. I've become friends with many founders of Jeep communities and clubs, and I've had actual conversations with them about what I want to do for our community. I send them care packages with free hats and shirts and stickers. Every Jeeper loves their decals. And so I create these packages, especially during COVID, and I would ship them out to them wherever they are in the country, wherever they are in the world. And they're always like, "Oh, well, Rachel's going to post on here. It can stay up." She's a part of the community. She's very involved. And so I've actually have that better advantage of getting our stuff out there more, because I've actually created relationships with these people, not just on a keyboard. So
the power of relationship is another thing that keeps you going.
Absolutely. And then knowing what we're doing, that this isn't something that's just benefiting us, for us to be recognized in the Jeep community. This is something for us to recognize our communities as a whole, to bring more awareness to what they're doing for our community and how can we help them. So we do that. We do so many things during the year. We do backpack runs where these kids that need school supplies or sneakers or backpacks, we have all of our Jeepers load their Jeeps with school supplies and stuff. And then we meet the school district, and literally we have 60 Jeeps there, and they're crying because their parking lot's full of supplies. We do food drives for Palm Beach County Food Bank. We, during hurricane season, a lot of people don't realize we're like ready to go. And we've actually have Jeepers, not just if we live here in Florida, we have some of our Jeepers that go to Texas and we'll go to Louisiana. We have chainsaws and winches, and our Jeeps are high water vehicles. We can do rescues and stuff like that. So we're always doing things for the
So
community.
the Jeep community is bigger than just creating these events.
It really is. And it's funny because now once everybody hears this interview, every time they're on the road, they're going to see a Jeep. And they're going to be like, oh my God, there's a Jeep. Oh my God, there's a Jeep.
Right.
There are so many Jeeps here and there's such a huge community spirit with the Jeeps. It's unbelievable. And so we're powerful in numbers and there's so many here. And if you watch careful enough, like when a Jeep is coming my way on the road, you always see us give the wave to each other. We always do. We are always connected somehow, some way. And that's why the ducks are also very powerful, which can I give them to you?
Yes.
Okay.
You're bringing out ducks. And my friends that are watching this, they're going to kill me because we have a lot of jokes about ducks. So,
So I'm going to give you the small one first. So this one is basically the one that we put on the door handle of Jeeps when we see them.
I appreciate it.
And it has, as you can see from a marketing standpoint, it has our business card on it. It has on the back side, it has all of our social media pages. It actually has.
So you just put this in any Jeep that you see?
Yes.
This is great marketing.
Yes. And then we also give it to, kids. If the kids see it and they love it, we also give them to police officers. I have several different themed ducks.
Oh
so
my God,
have,
it's not just one duck.
No, I have veteran ducks. I have police ducks. I have firefighter ducks. I have paramedic ducks. Anytime I see one of them, I give
Great
them
branding.
Yeah,
great marketing.
That way they know, because who knows if they have a Jeep. When we see a really special Jeep.
Nice ducking Jeep.
Yes. So when we see.
this is the biggest duck.
Yes. So when we see really special Jeeps or we see a Jeeper in the community that's done something really amazing, they get a special duck.
So this gold duck is the most important duck.
Yes.
And I can keep this.
Yes, that's yours.
So I'm the biggest duck.
Yes, you are right now.
This is amazing. I appreciate it.
And then we have here.
Boy, there's more ducks.
No more ducks, but this is our poster for the event.
Nice.
And then these are postcards for the event.
Nice. So when is the next event?
It's March 25th through the 26th. We pushed
2023.
Yes.
Why are you promoting this early?
We promote the minute the event was over this past March.
Very few people know the importance of that for a marketing reason after an event is done. Where did you learn that?
Planning a wedding.
The wedding is the reason now you know all this.
Yes. If you think about it, you get engaged. It takes a year to plan a wedding. And it's crazy planning a wedding. And so for me, this is like having a wedding for 1,000 people. And so there's no time to kick back and have a vacation. So basically what happens is that the event is over on Sunday. On that Monday, we're back. I
was told to hold the card.
Hold the card.
Hold the card or hold the poster. Don't worry, they'll yell at me in a little bit. You see when they put all caps, that means they're yelling at me.
They're yelling at you.
I think let's insert it also. We're going to try to take a shot of the car and insert this flyer in some promo while we're doing this. So yeah, what made you, so you saying to promote this, you have wristbands.
Yes, those are the Mission 22, the Veterans for Suicide Awareness. Those are the wristbands.
So you create awareness and visibility for even your partners.
Yes, absolutely. We have amazing sponsors that help us with the event. They are committed, literally committed to helping my husband and I get this event off the ground and running, because it does cost a lot of money to get the event running. We're flying in country music artists from other states. We have a huge stage built in the sand. We do car crushing with the Jeeps.
We're going to film a whole behind the scene next year.
Yeah, it's crazy. We have a massive bounce house for the kids so that they're involved, axe throwing. We have about 80 to 100 vendors that come out. It's crazy, and it's a lot of fun.
I think we should go live. Create a live event for this.
Yes, and it's unbelievable just to see, even our police officers are out there partying with everybody.
It's a community event.
It really is. City council members are out there having a blast, and so for us to even have, like I said, one of the biggest things for us to even have general admission for free is because we want the community to come in there. No cost, no obligation. Just come and check it out. And they end up having so much fun.
I think organizations like yours most definitely what we should support in this community, and also getting sponsors involved, because you're bringing so much value into this community from just the community outreach side. inspiring kids to want to get into the Jeep community now. I feel like I have to go get a Jeep.
Right. And it's a hobby. It keeps them busy. It keeps them, entertained. I always tell people that Jeeps are the most accessible, most accessible, accessorized vehicle out there. You can do anything with a Jeep.
I've seen some crazy Jeeps.
Yes. Like any color combination, wraps, wheels. I mean, light bars, lift kits. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, a friend of mine had a Jeep. I think he said he used to take it water to a certain level,
Yes.
Not ready for that.
Yes. My Jeep is insane. I've got a mini iPad that controls everything and my walkie-talkies, my CB radio. I've got everything.
You have CB radio in your Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
Because just in case.
Well, when we go out, there are trails that we go. And when we go up to North Florida, we're, Ocala National Forest. My Jeep's been to Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains. Yeah.
So you get on your CB and
yeah.
10-4.
You got to go back to caveman times when there's no wire, cell phone service.
Do well in caveman time, wherever that's out. I don't think I'm gonna do well there. So
lots of mud, lots of water.
Just doesn't work with me. Just does not work. So what's next for you guys? What is it other than the event? What could people do to help out, to support?
Well, the biggest thing right now is that if anybody is interested in being a sponsor, you're not just becoming a sponsor and writing us a check. There's a lot more that goes into it for the event and with us. I'm literally on social media 10 to 12 hours a day.
Clearly,
yes.
1,200 people a day will make you do that.
Yes. And one of the things that we do is we make sure, I always tell a sponsor, if you're on social media, I'm sorry in advance because you're going to get 1,000 notifications from me because we announce them, we promote them, we talk about them and what they do. If they have advertisements, specials, things with their company, they get posted by me.
Constantly bringing value and creating visibility.
Correct. And then on top of that, they're helping the community because the more money that our sponsors bring in to help us with the bills that pay for this event, the more money that we bring in from the raffles and donations and everything, all that money goes back to our not-for-profits. And, I think everybody was right now is the most important time because everybody was so consumed with COVID that a lot of these not-for-profits couldn't do events. They couldn't raise money. They couldn't collect money. They couldn't do those things for 2 years. So, but I am. And so in order for me to keep this event running successfully, then I have to be able to give money back to those not-for-profits as well. And so the sponsors, the companies that are out there, they're getting so much value by just having their name on things. They're a part of what we're doing to help the community.
So the mission is bigger than just
having a Jeep event. It's much, much more than that. And then we also ask, our vendors that come to this event to promote and sell, don't necessarily have to be Jeep vendors. We have plenty of Jeep vendors that come here selling their tires and rims and whatnot. But other local businesses, one in particular is Jep Dog. He owns a pet store on Singer Island, and it's like a pet boutique. And great guy, cool stuff for your pets. And he actually sets up a vendor tent at our event as well.
So there's vendor opportunities also for the local people.
Absolutely, to get their name out there. The car washes that are out here, anybody, the local mechanic shops, whatever is out here.
1,000 cars coming in.
Correct.
You have a direct market.
Correct. And it's not, again, another great idea with the whole general admission is free is that a lot of the people that are coming in to just check out what's going on because they see tons of Jeeps rolling in is, what's going on in there? Well, you have people that don't own Jeeps walking into this event and then they get intrigued and they want to walk around and see all the vendors.
And now it inspires them to get Jeep.
A Jeep
have you guys worked with Jeep to get a sponsorship from them?
It's very difficult to get a sponsorship.
You should definitely be a sponsor.
Yeah. Jeep is their own and thing which is one of the reasons why we don't just name the event Jeep's on the island because Jeep does want a percentage of the profits,
of course.
So they're aware of who we are, whether or not someday, yes, they sponsor Jeep Beach in Daytona. They actually give a free Jeep to raffle off. So we would love to get to that point.
Jeep.
We would love to get to that point, but we're just now going into our third year and we do understand that it takes time to grow. So it requires a lot of patience.
So I think Rachel asks every guest that come in here and have a conversation with me, would you hire yourself and why?
Yes, I would hire myself. Just some of the things that are important to me is having the motivation, having the passion, having the organization, the responsibility. And I have all of those things. It took me a while to get them all in check and where I needed them to be, but that's what I look for in people. I can't hire somebody that owns, a BMW to help me in the Jeeping world. You know what I mean? So, but they have to be passionate about, they have to be passionate about the community, not just about what goes into their pocket, And so when I see those things, it's definitely what I want
for you. Mm-hmm. Well, Rachel, very impressive. I'm extremely happy what you're doing in this community.
Thank you.
I'm all in. I'm definitely going to be part of a lot of different things. I know I could bring value to my team, not me particularly. My team, I think we have a lot of things we could bring value to you guys to expand this and do what you're doing now and just keep it growing. But I won't miss another off-island, off-road Jeep and Music Festival. We'll do more. And I think we're going to document it. Or we're going to show people. I think a lot of people would love to see behind the scene of how you do all this. Because it's not an easy thing to host an event, especially in this capacity. I think that is also something you should add to your thing of hosting events and building events and the process of doing all that. So, hint, if you think of your next thing. And I want you to leave all your information, how people can get in contact with you, how they can do more research on you.
Absolutely.
Please.
Sure. So obviously on Facebook, you can reach out to us. It's Rachel Marshall-Morgan. I usually pop right up. You can also find us at Island Off-Road on Instagram. We also have a website, which is www.islandoffroadfl.com. You'll find all of the information, pictures, everything of what we do, our musicians, the process of what we do is on there as well. And then, of course, come to any of our events. Come check us out at Cars and Coffee. Come check us out at Super Car Week in January at Jeep Village. Check us out at our event. Check us out at any of the local businesses that we help and do meet and greets at. Prosperity Brewery. We do a Boca Bagel Bash once a month on Yamato. So we're always there. So if you come check us out, talk with us, and we'll be there to help out.
How's the bagels?
Bagels are very yummy, even though I shouldn't be eating them.
One.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good job, Rachel. I'm proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done, Matt.